And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. The war on drugs began in June 1971 when U.S. President Richard Nixon declared drug abuse to be public enemy #1 and increased federal funding for drug control agencies and drug treatment efforts. On today's Open Connection, we'll open our archives to bring you this story from 1990.
The tourism industry is booming in Hawaii. Its beaches remain a mecca for sun worshippers. Its showy Waikiki Strip acts as a magnet to foreign shoppers. But there's another industry on the rise. An industry that's ruining lives, threatening babies, and heating up gangland activities. It's known as ice, or crystal methamphetamine, an insidious drug that's a new twist on the synthetic stimulant speed. At $6,000 an ounce, ice is pricier than cocaine, but more devastating. When you smoke it in a glass pipe, you'll be high for 14 hours, but an addiction will lead to hospitalization and even death.
Jesus Christ! Jesus Christ!
During the last 2 years, ice has outstripped cocaine as the #1 drug problem in Honolulu. It's reached epidemic proportions, and the number of users continues to grow.
Everybody gonna let everybody know about the ice. Stay off of it. Okay?
All right. It's a monster. It creates a monster it created a monster out of me. It brought out all the negative things that I ever felt about myself and made it real. It deteriorates you, it just eats and kills you. You know, you're still alive and walking, but it's like you're living dead.
Ice is significantly worse than crack. And ice may be the beginning of the new age of drugs.
That in using the drug, a person can develop a toxic state where they become delirious or confused, and in that confusional state can become very violent.
Our arrest statistics were up. The seizures of methamphetamine was up, or ice. Our weapons seizures were up, so we had concern.
Hawaii has never had a heroin or crack problem, so it's lagged behind other North American cities in terms of drug use. But this ice epidemic has changed all that. Now the question isn't just how long will the drug be popular in Hawaii, but how far will its popularity spread? American police call Korea the ice-making capital. Here the drug is manufactured in illegal laboratories. Ephedrine, the key ingredient, is a chemical similar to an over-the-counter cold medication. Last month in Korea, a police raid confiscated 400 pounds of crystal meth, its street value estimated at $1 billion. Much of it had been destined for Japan and Hawaii. The police also arrested 23 gang members. The woman on the right is believed to be the head of the clandestine operation. But South Korea isn't the only country manufacturing and smuggling ice. Police say there are other illegal operators in the Philippines and in Taiwan. In the Asian drug world, the island is viewed as the gateway to the North American drug market, a market worth billions of dollars. But for the time being, Hawaii remains more like a drop-off point for the drug, and it's smuggled here primarily through the airport. The Honolulu International Airport has become a full-time home for police drug dogs. Ice Patrol is a 24-hour beat. This is a recent airport seizure, 3 pounds of ice stuffed in tubs of butter. And this is part of a 200-pound haul of ephedrine, shipped to Honolulu from New York and destined for California. Honolulu police predict the city is only a test market for larger North American cities.
Geographically, we are situated in harm's way. We feel that the market will expand from Honolulu to other areas across the United States. Canada would be a point of entry into the United States.
Honolulu remains the only North American city where the drug of choice is ice, not for tourists, but for locals. and it's the Asian gangs that control its distribution, gangs that violently protect their turf. In this area of the city, Kalihi, a teenage gang member stands charged with gunning down another gang member. He had been high on ice.
They're heavily armed. You know, we had an instance where we arrested individuals who's carrying grenades.
Larry Leong has been with the Federal Drug Enforcement Agency for 20 years. He says the introduction of ice to Hawaii has meant the introduction of Macs, Uzis, M2 carbines, AK-47s, weapons more lethal than the drug itself.
We do encounter other people, but you know, they're not as heavily armed. You know, we might arrest them. They'll have maybe like a revolver or a handgun on them. None of these illegal weapons like the automatics or the machine guns and so on.
Okay, fishy, 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 where are you? Okay, the suspect is leaving now. He's gonna get into his truck, crossing the street. He's gonna go back up to the supplier's house. Okay, he just gave the signal. He said it looks good. Yeah, that's the signal. It looks good.
Freeze! Get your hands up! Please, get him up! 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 Get out! Get out! Get down! 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 Get your hands up! Get your hands up!
Police have only recently infiltrated these violent gangs. Here, this low-level drug courier is arrested after making a deal with an undercover agent. Half a gram of ice, several years in jail.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. During the 1990s, the popularity of crystal methamphetamine, a smokable form of methamphetamine commonly referred to as ice, began to increase in the United States. Let us return to the archives as Kate discovers how difficult it is to get ice in the 1990s.
We wanted to see how tough it was to find ice. We didn't have to look far. Our taxi driver had been an ice user. He took us to a drug haven in old downtown Honolulu. Where this police bust takes place, drug addicts and hookers buy and sell for the right price. But in this part of town, if you're white or a tourist, it's not a safe place to be. We end up at a sleazy corner bar where the driver says he scores batu, the Filipino word for ice.
$62, yeah? You know me, right? I've been here before, though, don't you?
I'm gonna be right back, okay?
Okay.
A small lady, right there.
All right.
And this is what we got. This glass pipe is called a bong. It probably costs a few cents to make. It cost us $12 from the dealer. And this was supposed to be ice, 1/10 of a gram. Instead, it's rock salt. Even the dealers know who they can rip off. We have the money, we just don't have their trust.
Here in Honolulu, we don't do it in open. The business is carried on, you have to know somebody. You have to call somebody and meet them somewhere. And the deal will go down as planned.
Well, I had like a regular business going in my house. I had an office, a Rolodex, a phone, and I'd set up appointments, and I also had a lunch period. I'd take a lunch break and go out.
Kathy Baker is a veteran drug dealer. She's undergoing rehabilitation. For 8 months, Kathy smoked ice daily. It consumed her life. The courts took away her children.
The first second I used it, I was automatically addicted. I loved it. I'd stay up like 4 to 5 days straight without sleeping or eating. And once I stayed up about 5 days, and I had a real bad experience on it. Well, it was like I had these feelings that people were always trying to get me, you know, and like I was always being constantly watched 24 hours a day. My house was bugged, and you know, people would kidnap my kids, and just this really overwhelming fear.
I'm not going to leave, Alicia. I'll stay here. Mommy's pal, okay? Mommy's finished.
A pathetic cry from a little girl who can only visit her mother. 23-year-old Beleza is struggling with drug rehabilitation and with the guilt of using ice while pregnant.
I kept thinking that it's not going to bother the baby, or that I'm not doing as much. I'm not using too much. I'm just taking a couple hits a day. when you use the drug, you have to always keep doing something, whether if it's listening to the wall, if there's voices in the wall, or if it's cleaning up your house or looking around for more crystals on the ground. When you're coming down from, you become tired. You don't want to go to sleep because it's still in your system. So you become bored. So you start picking at your skin because you feel like there's stuff inside of it.
Ice addicts are being wheeled into Honolulu hospitals daily. Restraint measures have taken the place of quiet discussion. Controlling the junkies' violent mood swings, paranoia, and hallucinations has become an all-too-familiar chore for police and health workers. Crystal methamphetamine has devastated the tropical paradise. Honolulu is a paradise lost to a generation of addicts. And the drug of tomorrow, ice, is only an island away.
While police fight to prevent adults from using illegal drugs, it will take more than the law to help the youngest victims. Born to mothers hooked on cocaine and now on ice, drug-addicted babies are the ultimate victims.
At the Women's and Children's Hospital in Honolulu, 40% of the drug-addicted babies born here are addicted to ice. The Canadian doctor who runs a neonatal unit says normalcy for these children will be impossible. That is, if they survive life in the womb.
These babies have about a 10 times increased incidence of intrauterine death relative to the normal population. These babies sometimes are born prematurely. They sometimes are born with small brains, small bodies, small length, small weight. They cry continuously. They're hungry all the time. Nurses have to spend a lot of time with them, and they're non-consolable. Tremendous hyperactivity, fits of rage, and those kinds of things seem to be a problem related to the brain development, and it seems that these medications definitely affect the brain. That's how they work. They work on the brains of humans, they work on the brains of the mothers, they work on the brains of the babies, and they are devastating.
Would you take a nice baby home with you?
No, I wouldn't, and I hate to say that, but these babies are going to be long-term problems. We're going to have a group of individuals who are hyperactive. As they grow up, they tend to be fearless, if you will. They tend to be sociopathic, perhaps, even maybe psychopathic.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. An NHL slap shot from the blue line takes 0.9 seconds to cross the goal line. Top-end goalies in their prime have a reaction time, the combination of analysis time and actual movement time, of 0.45 seconds. Let us return to the archives to learn more about Kitimat's Mark Fitzpatrick.
Back in, Turcotte shooting!
He's Kitimat's pride and joy. Goaltender Mark Fitzpatrick of the New York Islanders, born in Toronto but raised in Kitimat, really came into his own in this, his sophomore season in the National Hockey League. In 47 games played, Fitzpatrick posting a one-loss record of 19, 19, and 5 with a goals against average of 3.39. His save percentage of .898 was 5th best in the NHL and 3rd best among goaltenders with over 40 games played. Early in the season, he picked up 3 shutouts in the span of a week and a half and was named Player of the Week for his efforts. Only Mike Liut of the Washington Capitals had more shutouts on the year. Fitzpatrick was originally drafted by the Los Angeles Kings with their second choice, 27th overall in the 1987 draft. But the Kings really couldn't wait for the youngster to develop, so they dealt him to the New York Islanders, along with promising young defenseman Wayne McBean and veteran defenseman Doug Crossman, all for goalie Kelly Rudy. This season, Fitzpatrick shared the goaltending duties with Glenn Healy on a streaky Islander team that got off to a horrible start. Caught on fire in December and then went into the tank in March, only to squeeze into the playoffs in their last regular season game of the season. New York, ravaged by injuries to the likes of Pat LaFontaine and Jeff Norton, were quickly eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the crosstown rival New York Rangers in 5 games. It was a painful way to end the season, but the Isles are a young, rebuilding team that can only get better. For Fitzpatrick, it was a successful season and one that didn't go unnoticed by the folks in Kitimat. Led by organizer Ivan Ball, the town held a Mark Fitzpatrick Day on June 9th to honor their star. It was a weekend that featured an autograph signing session, a dinner and a dance, and a fishing trip up Douglas Channel. The weekend kicked off with a wine and cheese party at the Greek Community Hall. Isles goalie coach Battling Billy Smith was among the guests, along with Mark's grandparents who were flown in courtesy of Alcan from Newfoundland. Local politicians Jim Fulton and Dave Parker were also there for some presentations.
I think one of the most important things for hockey players to display, both in public and on the ice, is good sportsmanship, and I think he certainly has demonstrated that through his career. And I think in participating in events like this here in Kitimat, he demonstrates to adults as well as to younger people that being a good sportsman means that you participate in community events and get out and encourage young people to be good citizens in their communities and good citizens in sports.
One of the things that he's doing in New York is he's the honorary chairman of the Long Island Cerebral Palsy Association. And that's the sort of leadership this young man exhibits. And Mark, we're really proud of you. And thank you for coming back to Kitimat. And I want to say thank you for being prepared to share your leadership and your goals and your character with our children.
Following a breakfast at the golf course, there was a brief motorcade to the Tamatik Arena where a mass of youngsters converged, eager to get Mark's autograph. The ever-flamboyant Billy Smith was there, along with hockey school instructor Vic Lemire and another Northwest product who plays on the Islanders, Alan Kerr. Kerr was born in Hazleton, lived in Terrace for 10 years, and now resides in Smithers. The kids also had the opportunity to fine-tune their stickwork on a goalie who, well, really wasn't that bad. And for those who can't stand the summer months without hockey, there was highlights of Mark's season. A reminder of the day can now be seen on the Tamatik boards, where Mark's name is now permanently displayed. Saturday evening featured a dinner and a dance at River Lodge, where Mark was once again honored.
So you can see that Mark is certainly an achiever, and certainly someone that Kitimat can be proud of. And I will not be surprised by any of his future successes. Congratulations, Mark, on your accomplishments. We all wish you continued success. Kitimat is most proud of you, and you have given us all great pleasure when we follow our hometown boys' success on the ice.
I'm very touched by all the speeches. I didn't expect all these fine people to say all those nice things about myself and all that. And the feeling's the same for me towards everyone else here, and it's been a great weekend so far. Like I said, I'm very touched by the whole thing.
On Sunday, it was fishing on one of Alcan's boats on a sunny day in Douglas Channel, and although Mark failed to land the 40-pound Chinook he was looking for, he did manage to hook into a small shark. Now, that's not a common find among Northwest fishermen.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
He was nicknamed Battling Billy or Hatchet Man for his fiery temper and his unabashed use of the stick or a blocker on players crowding his crease. As such, forwards needed ankle guards to protect themselves. In this final segment of Open Connection, we'll hear from Islanders goaltending coach Billy Smith. But first, organizer Ivan Bell shares how he got Mark Fitzpatrick to come back to Kitimat.
It was a fun weekend for Kitimat hockey fans, and it went off quite smoothly thanks to some excellent planning.
The biggest thing was to get Mark to go along with it because he's so shy and inward. Once we accomplished that, we had to get the backing of all the different businesses in town. And I think we can safely say that we had 100% response on that. We had a good committee, organized all of the functions. We had an honorary guest in Fred Schooley who made sure that Mark was everywhere on time, and everything in all was very well planned out and detailed and looked after.
Ivan Ball, he was taking care of this whole event. He called me in March and he asked me what do I think of Mark Fitzpatrick Day, and first I was a little bit hesitant, because it's only my second year in NHL, and I haven't really won a Stanley Cup or anything yet, like Billy Smith. But after I got thinking about it, he came up with the idea where all proceeds from this event are going to go to the Child Development Center, which I think is a fantastic idea. I think the kids will win in the long run.
Along with the minor hockey, getting a chance to use Mark as a role model, all proceeds went from the weekend to the Kitimat Child Development Center, who, needless to say, is a good is a good charity for Mark to get involved with, and as per his request, all donations will be made to the child development, and I am glad to say that we have got a profit.
Diddick, tied up by Jansen's, puck comes loose. Centered in front, Fitzpatrick!
After an unsettling rookie season, Mark has flourished under the increased ice time on Long Island. Although the team had a bitter end of the season, the future looks bright for the Islanders.
Unfortunately, he met up with a goaltender that's got quick hands as well.
The Islanders don't put a lot of pressure on the players, and especially the younger players. They realize that the younger players are going to make some errors here and there, and they aren't going to be great every night. So it's just a rebuilding process, and so we're taking it slow, but it looks like we're making good strides.
Well, we made the playoffs. That was our goal at the beginning of the year, was to make the playoffs. I think it couldn't have been a total satisfying year, but we had our ups and downs this year. We started off really slow. We went 5-18-2, I think, our first 25 games, and then we had a really good streak where we went 23-2 or 22-3, and the team played really well. It looked like the team was really coming together, and I think there was quite a bit of excitement, but as the season goes along, things happen, and the team lost a little bit of confidence as a team, and we were winning by 1 or 2 goals in the good stretch, and we were losing by 1 or 2 in the bad stretch, and things contribute to that. Injuries always affect a team. We had a lot of injuries this season, and that never helps a young team. You get a guy like LaFontaine out, and Norton out, and Mark was out a couple times, so it's tough for a young team when they see their best players out, the confidence level.
Mark has also earned the respect from his teammates and coaches.
Mark has 2 great qualities. He's big, and for his size, I haven't seen many goalies move his feet as well as he does. So that part of the game I don't even try to touch. The only thing I try is to get him to use his stick a little bit more, try to poke check the guys and eliminate guys from walking out behind the net, and he's learning quick.
What about the rough stuff in the crease area?
No, because when I was there, the Islanders kept trying to stop me from doing it, so I don't want to have him try to start, because it takes a lot away from your hockey game, too. If you start trying to hit guys and don't concentrate on the puck, you're going to end up letting in bad goals. So I stay away from that. He's aggressive enough without me touching him.
Over to Patrick. To Turcotte. Shoots. Great stop.
I tell you, for a young guy, he shows a lot of leadership qualities. He, if the team's not playing well, he'll let the guys know. Most guys are 20, 21. They come in the dressing room, and there's guys like Trottier and LaFontaine and, guys like that around the room. And I tell you, Mark doesn't care, what he says to anybody, or, if the team's not playing well, he lets the guys know.
Chico Resch was a real good buddy of mine. I thought he played extremely well. And then Kelly Arudi, I thought, was another good goalie that we had. And but Mark, at his age and the way he's come along, I think he'll be better than any of us. If he can, keep his head on straight and keep playing the way he is, he's definitely going to be one of the best.
Yeah, I'm very happy this year. I think my confidence improved a lot, and I think that was my biggest part of my game. I just had to believe in myself that I could go out and do the job, and not be in awe of everything like I was in my first year in the NHL. And I'm just like any other player in the NHL. I just got to go out and do my job.
Wilson back out to the top of the slot. Fitzpatrick, big stop. Reached up and knocked it down.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.